My name is Thomas Martin, and my topic today is going to be performance-enhancing drugs. I need to video the whole class, so my teacher knows everybody that was watching.
Take a look and listen and see.
And then we're going to first start off with a small video. That's dynamite. I'm going to start the video right now, and then I'll get into the presentation. This is the 1988 Olympics that Ben Johnson won. His record stood for 12 years. It's unbelievable what he did to the competition. Anybody see that, or we need to close the light? Yeah. Just stop it after it crosses the finish line. I'm sorry. You don't even have to pause it. You don't even have to stop it. I'll just run. You see Ben Johnson right there. He blows away the competition by a whole second. He blew away the competition by a whole second, which is incredible when it comes to track and field. Okay, usually it's close, usually it's 5/10 or something like that. But the thing is, he got his medal taken away because he got in trouble for performance-enhancing drugs. Now, there's several athletes lately that have been in the paper and on Oprah, if you guys watch Oprah, like Lance Armstrong, lost his 7 jerseys because he used performance-enhancing drugs after denying it for years. Barry Bonds used performance-enhancing drugs. They want to put a star by his home run record. Mark McGwire, we all know. Marion Jones, the sprinter, said she used performance-enhancing drugs. Now, a lot of these people that use these drugs didn't come up positive for these drugs. Alex Rodriguez admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs. Roger Clemens, as we know. Sean Merriman, who played for the Chargers, he was a 2005 Rookie of the Year. In 2007, he came up positive. He had 18 sacks in 2000 as a rookie, 17 his second year. He came up positive, got suspended for 4 years. He only had 4 sacks, was the highest for the rest of his years. He retired in 10 years. And Jose Canseco, who pretty much started the whole thing, he's the only 40-40 man in history. Now, when I talk about performance-enhancing drugs, and please, anybody answer, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Steroids, right? Okay, but there's a lot of other different performance-enhancing drugs. Okay, you have, there's 2 kinds of steroids, anabolic and catabolic. Catabolic is like your cortisone shot to reduce the swelling so you can go ahead and play. That's allowed. But you have pills, anabolic steroids come in pills, they come in oil-based, and they come in water-based. Okay, just a little background, I was a competitive bodybuilder for 15 years. And I never got tested, even though they said it was a drug-tested event. Then there's growth hormone. There's blood doping, and blood doping is actually like 3 days before the race, they pull a pint of blood out of your body. The day or the race, they put that pint back in. Now you have too much blood in your body, but you have a lot more red blood cells. Red blood cells mean oxygen, means that you can race longer and harder. Then there's an EPO. EPO is almost the same, except EPO is a chemical that does it. You don't have to pull that blood out. Then there was prohormones that were legal for a while because they were not steroids. But once they entered the body, the gases and everything in your body turned them into steroids. And last but not least, designer steroids. You've heard about this, you've heard about Balco and the trials. Can everybody see? Can I turn this up? Or do you have something on here for
You
them?
can go on the side.
Okay. Designer steroids, just for instance, are, this is the molecular value. This is just for instance, okay? That makes up testosterone. Now, all they have to do to make it a designer drug that nobody knows about is take this molecule and move it up here. So it's no longer up here, now it's up here. Now, you still have a steroid, but it's not known, and it gets by the FDA. Because when you take a test, what comes up first, the man's gonna have elevated testosterone levels. 1,200 nanograms is like the highest amount a man can have. So when the man comes out with 3,000 grams of nanograms, they know that there's a problem. So what they have to do is, they don't know what kind of steroid, they have to run it against every steroid that they know that's available. And if they use that steroid right there, like they did Balco, they can never find them guilty. Another thing is the cost. Testing athletes can cost up to $30,000 a year, according to ESPN. That's a lot of money. We have the Olympic people, we have NFL, we have baseball players, hockey players, and also the tests aren't very good. There's a lot of false positives, like any test. You know, pseudoephedrine can come up positive, and also, according to the USDA, there's a lot of meat in steroids. They did a test of 100 people aged 20 to 70, and 40% of those people came up positive. Your grandmother came up positive for steroids because she ate meat that contained steroids. So the urine samples they give, they're not very accurate, and they want to give blood samples, but none of the unions, players don't want to give blood. I don't want somebody taking my blood. And then, you know, you have to handle it, and there's mishandling of it. When somebody takes it from me, I want to see it done right there. I don't want you to handle it, you to handle it, you to handle it, switch it out or whatever, mix it up. And then there's Congress. There's so many problems in the United States today with jobs, the economy, and everything like that. Do we really need Congress to get involved for steroids in baseball? I mean, come on. There's so many other problems. They spent millions of dollars to do that. They put Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens on trial. Weeks and weeks and weeks, millions and millions of dollars. Both were found innocent. People think that performance-enhancing drugs started like, you know, in the 80s and stuff like that, 70s and 80s. But no, it didn't. It goes way back in time. According to Dr. Larry Bowers, the ancient Greeks in 776 BC, when they started the Olympic Games, they used to give their athletes heroin so they wouldn't feel the pain while they were running and they were throwing. It would help ease the pain. Then, according to Dr. Abdul Aziz, of 100 AD, the gladiators used a lot of drugs, amphetamines, they used heroin, hallucinogenics. They were, they were terrible with drugs. And then in the 19th century, according to Dr. Murray, cyclists started using cocaine, so that helped them go faster. Now, in the 20th century, they restarted the Olympics again. From 1900 to 1920, the athletes, and that's not only Olympic athletes, that's baseball, football, all the other athletes, they used cocaine, heroin, and stimulants. So, and in 1954, the Russian weightlifting team, of course, used steroids and created a lot of records. In 1968, they started testing the World Doping. I passed out some flyers to you guys and to show you that the World Doping Association, how many they test for. I believe it's 192 different drugs. And then I passed out the other flyer, shows the NFL, and there's a big contrast. Also, if a player comes up positive today, I don't know if you guys remember, in 2004, a lot of Saints came up positive, including Deuce McAllister, for performance-enhancing drugs. So all they do, they got suspended, but with like everything else, you can appeal. The appeal goes to a judge in New Orleans. Do you actually think a judge in New Orleans is going to find 6 Saints guilty? No, there's no way in history. Same thing happened in Minnesota. They did the same thing. Minnesota found them not guilty. They continue to play. There is legal drugs in sports today. Of course, every sport uses painkillers, which are highly addicting. According to an unnamed sportsman in the NFL, that there's many, many players addicted, former players and players now that are highly addicted to painkillers. In baseball, believe it or not, they use amphetamines today because they play a game, let's say at 8 o'clock at night, it goes till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, God forbid it goes into extra innings, then they got to come back again and play at 11 o'clock, noontime. So they use amphetamines, and that's legal for them. The NBA has no testing for marijuana. They test for all the other drugs, but they don't test for marijuana. Cortisone, like I said, is a legal injection. And as I mentioned before, I was a bodybuilder for competitive bodybuilder for 15 years. And every bodybuilder that you see that has giant, big 20-inch arms and all that you see on these shows, they all use steroids, no doubt. They all use steroids, HGH, and many drugs. My point is I feel that they should legalize performance-enhancing drugs because it'll make the playing field equal. If you choose to use that, then you choose to use that. But everybody, players cheat, and there's ways to get around the test and stuff, so why should you just legalize it? It ends all the controversy. Fans like home runs. If you remember when, I don't know if you guys remember, but Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa were going for the home run record. That was the most watched baseball in history. Everybody wants to see bigger, stronger, faster, like in the NFL. We love to see those crushing hits and crushing blows. I mean, drugs, and then if they are legal, instead of the players injecting themselves or having their trainer inject themselves and not really knowing what's going on, doctors can be used to inject them and monitor. This way they can monitor their liver count, everything like that, to make sure that the steroids aren't damaging or whatever drugs are damaging their body. To me, it's evolution. Just like back in the old days, they didn't have a radar gun. They didn't know a guy pitched 101 miles per hour. Today you have radar guns. They didn't have computers, but we use computers today. We know that with this pitcher, every third pitch, he throws a curveball. Because we plugged it into the computer. Nutrition, lifting weights, vitamins, proteins, etc. It's evolution. It's all part of evolution. So to end all the controversy and end it all, and all the money and everything like that can be done, we can educate the youngsters. I do believe the NCAA should continue testing. But once you get to be in the pro level, you are a grown man now, and these guys' careers are very short, about 10 years, some of them, and some of them a little shorter. Let them get paid the most that they can and perform the best that they can and entertain us the best that they can. That concludes my speech about performance-enhancing drugs. You've been a great audience. Thank you very much for everything.